Because of Donald Trump's failures to understand how the Senate even works, because of his failures as a leader, and because the Republicans refuse to compromise with Democrats in order to come up with a bipartisan budget agenda, the government has shut down for the first time since 2019. If that sounds familiar, well, guess what? Donald was president in 2019 when the government shut down, and it was the longest shutdown in modern American history. So let's take a look at what NBC News has to say about this latest development.
And the government has officially shut down. My phone is blowing up with statements from Democrats and Republicans already trying to point the finger and play the blame game so that their side does not get blamed by the millions of Americans who will be impacted by the consequences of this shutdown. The first one, Stephen, since 2019. That was the longest shutdown in history. It happened under the president's first administration. It lasted 35 days. I mean, even if you're not a federal government employee and you think it's not going to impact you, by the way, the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that nearly 1 million people could be furloughed, costing the government potentially $400 million. Even if you're not in that bucket or you don't know anybody who is a federal employee, you could still be impacted. That is because certain services will just cease. The clock struck midnight. That means infant and child formula, food assistance for women, flood insurance. The national parks will have some closures. If you're going to the airport, you have to give yourself more time because those TSA workers will be showing up, but they won't get a paycheck. Other services like social safety net benefit programs could also be delayed.
The Republican Party is in control of every single branch of government. The executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. They control both houses of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives. In what universe can anybody lay this at the feet of Democrats? Well, Republicans are going to do their damnedest trying. But let's look at it this way. It is the Republicans' bill. It is the Republicans' budget. So why won't Democrats go along with it? Well, because this is the Republicans' negotiating stance, which, by the way, is exactly the same as Donald's. They want everything, and they want the Democrats to have nothing. Why in the world would any Democrats, let alone 7 of them, cross the aisle to make common cause with these fascists who want to hurt the American people? But before we go on, we need to stay laser focused on the machinations of the Trump regime in putting us through the horrors of a government shutdown for the second time in 6 years. So please like and share this video. And if you believe in our mission, subscribe to our channel. As we know, the economy has been suffering under Donald's questionable stewardship. Everything he's done when it comes to economic policy since January 20th of this year has made our economy worse. Last month alone, in September, over 30,000 jobs were lost. It is not supposed to work that way. This shutdown is going to make everything worse. In fact, it's going to cost the United States economy billions of dollars per week, according to a new analysis. Here's CBS News with more.
Wall Street's keeping a somewhat watchful eye on Washington as this government shutdown approaches. And here's why. New analysis from Ernst & Young Parthenon finds protracted shutdown could cost the U.S. economy about $7 billion per week. I don't want to confuse people. We have a $30.5 trillion U.S. economy. So if you took $7 billion a week and multiplied that by every week of the year, you get $364 billion. That's not going to crater the economy, but there's a multiplier effect in there. And more importantly, there's data that comes from the federal government that might be slowed or absent entirely. And I think that's what Wall Street's paying attention to.
Yes, and also, by the way, it's not just money. It's services, essential services that are provided to people who need them that will be at risk. So between new tariffs, rising inflation, and the United States economy losing billions of dollars per week, things are going to get bad and quickly. Small businesses, government workers, and everyday people will be hit the hardest by this shutdown. Who won't be affected? Well, Congresspeople who made this happen, the Republicans in particular, they're going to keep getting paid. And Donald and the rest of his cronies will continue to make tons of money, despite the fact that the government has shut down. Shutdowns are historically unpopular, and they're almost always avoidable, at least if we had honest brokers involved. Everybody, therefore, is quick to blame the other party every single time, regardless of whose fault it might actually be. I'm going to get to more on that later. One question I have is, why is Donald totally fine with this shutdown? I mean, you could say, well, he didn't want this to happen. But yes, he did, because he allowed it to happen. Unless he's stupider than I thought, even he must know that the Republicans needed 7 Democrats to vote with them in order to get this thing to an up or down vote on the floor of the Senate. And not only did he make no effort to convince Democrats to vote with Republicans, he actually actively antagonized them. Here's another reason that Donald actually may have wanted the government to shut down. The monthly report on the job market they were supposed to receive will not be published on Friday as scheduled because of the shutdown. That means businesses, Congress, the Fed, and Americans will be left guessing about the strength or, more relevantly, weakness of the labor market as the U.S. economy continues to slow. And similarly, the inflation report slated to be released in mid October will likely be delayed unless the shutdown is averted in coming days, which, given the impasse, looks increasingly unlikely. The Fed faces another rate cut decision next month, but without these key data, they will be left guessing about how best to respond to the current state of the economy, which they won't actually know. Donald wants this because he does not want Americans to see just how badly the economy is failing under his watch because of his egregious economic policies. Donald's motivations go much further than the economy. This is indeed another way to make sure the Epstein files don't get released now or perhaps ever. As we know, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has delayed the swearing in of newly elected Representative Adelita Grijalva. She's a Democrat from Arizona who would provide a crucial vote necessary to allow Democrats to bring a resolution to the floor of the House demanding the release of the Epstein files from the Department of Justice. Now that the government has shut down, no votes will be cast. Grijalva won't be sworn in anytime soon, and there's no reason to think the Epstein files will be released at all. For Donald, the best part of all of this is he gets to continue to blame all of this on Democrats, because we know the people who most desperately want the Epstein files released are members of his base, his most ardent followers. So he can just say, hey, I was this close to demanding the release of those Epstein files, but the Democrats shut down the government, thereby making it impossible for me to do that. That is how desperate Donald is. So I can't say with any certainty that he purposely wanted the government shut down, but I find it very curious that it benefits him in so many ways. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.